Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning here in downtown Bardstown. Good morning, Margie.
Morning, Jim.
Well, I tell you, the parking situation down on South 3rd Street was a little tight this morning. I actually found a spot and, for once, parallel parked without hitting anything. So, but anyway, it's good to see people in and out, though. I mean, that's like to see local businesses and being patronized. Well, Margie, we have a very special studio guest who I just saw last night. In fact, Aaron Bowles. Aaron is he was hired in as the chief financial officer for the city of Bardstown. He does a great job with the finances, but more recently has been named the city's
administrator.
City administrator. I'm sorry, my mind went blank. And so, welcome to Bradford and Brooks, Aaron.
Thank you.
And it's good to have you on. And I can only imagine that since you've been working with the city, your services and expertise were well needed when they brought you in.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm tempted to say because I still, even though I live in the county, I still feel a lot of ownership.
Yeah.
With the council and the city of Bardstown. But anyway, you've done a good job and even explained city finances in a way that I can kind of figure it out too. Mm-hmm. And so that's going something if you can explain it to a journalist.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But now you're city administrator, and now in the past, city administrator, it was basically a role that you kind of oversaw things when the mayor can't be there 24/7 or 7 days a week.
Right.
And I'm assuming it's a role similar to that.
Yes, yeah. So we have a part-time mayor. Mayor Heaton, though, isn't part-time. He is a full-time mayor.
Right.
Definitely.
He's just not paid full-time.
Correct. So. Yes, I'm there to backfill when he's not around, to help guide our department heads and basically implement policy from council and from him, and make sure all the back-end operations of the city are running.
Right. And, as many different departments as the city of Bardstown has, there's a lot going on that the average city resident may not think about. There's, besides utilities, there's lots going on.
Yes.
And always appreciated my city utilities when we lived in town. Always had great service, except when I forgot to get the garbage out early enough. But that wasn't their fault; it was my fault. Well, Aaron, you're here today. We're talking about the cable TV and broadband infrastructure that the city council voted last night. And correct me if my wording is wrong. Do you accept a proposal from
Spectrum?
From Spectrum, which their parent company is
Charter Communications.
Yes. And Spectrum is already in the community. So they're not a foreign name to the community at all.
So anything south of the Bluegrass is Spectrum territory.
Right. And I know that there had been the city and the county had been working to expand internet access in areas of the county that weren't served, and they'd been working together, and that included, coordinating efforts with other carriers like Spectrum too.
Right.
Because I think Spectrum had plans in some areas, and there was no need to try to duplicate services.
Right. Yeah. So they were already, especially over in like the Willisburg area.
Right.
They had built some in there, and then in the outskirts of Spencer County, there's some areas that they beat us to also.
Right, and I think that like I wrote in my column yesterday, when I first became an internet subscriber with the city of Bardstown. Actually, the cable system out my way was not two-way. I had to have a second phone line for the telco return. But I will tell you, I'm not complaining because I loved having anything faster than dial-up.
Yeah.
Because that's all I'd had before. And of course, I've operated the Nelson County Gazette for 18 years, and I live and die by the internet. So it's been excellent for me, and I always appreciate the great customer service. Now I know that things will be changing, and this may be too early to ask. Is there a time frame for how long this transition might take?
Yeah. So we've moved into, basically signed a letter of intent and intend to enter into negotiations. So in a deal like this, this is much bigger than just selling a car or a surplus truck. There's going to be a lot that goes into this. So over the next 3 months, the city will be working. We have retained a lawyer based out of St. Louis that specializes in cable broadband deals with carriers. So we'll be working with him, and then even Charter's attorneys to kind of hash out a final contract as we move forward. And in the meantime, Charter will send teams into the community to observe our head end, to look at our lines throughout the community, and just do their due diligence to see exactly how they're going to get their signal into our network.
Right.
Well, I think that, of course, that's all business stuff that you have to go through to get this through and everything. But the questions that are on the minds of citizens is, what does this mean for the citizens? We've had excellent service from the city of Bardstown, and relatively low prices for cable TV and for broadband.
Yeah. So as of now, the contract negotiations take about 3 months. And then once we have that final contract signed, then we move into kind of the switch over of the system, and that can take anywhere between 6 and 12 months, just depending upon the amount of work that they have. So there's nothing going to change in the near future for anybody, at least probably the next year, possibly.
So this really is very early in the process because the details really haven't been hammered out yet. You're
Correct.
basically working with a framework that you're starting with.
Yeah. So when they propose a price, they're really looking at overall subscriber count, the market territory, the number of passings that we have, and kind of formulating prices that way. They have to really come in over the next couple of months and do a deep dive into the actual technology. And in the proposal, we listed the technology that we use, but they're going to want to see really every line, every fiber that's hanging, and see exactly where we're at.
And the physical properties too. I know you have trucks, you have people employed, and trucks that go out and respond to emergencies. What happens to those?
So if we'll work that out in the contract negotiations. If they do want some of our equipment, then we'll hash that out as we go through. If not, then that will become surplus property that either we'll redeploy at other departments within the city, or we'll sell it off.
Well, I know that just from covering the city council, the city's always been good about redeploying and finding other uses for a vehicle that might be surplus to one department would be a good fit at another department. So that's an opportunity there, and it saves money from buying another vehicle. What about now I don't know how many employees are involved with the cable and broadband system. And I don't expect that you'll need to keep all of those, for the city's IT needs. Right.
So we have about dedicated to the cable and internet department. We have about 26 employees, 27. 6, 7 of those are part-time employees that work either in the cable side, kind of out in construction, or a majority of them are actually in our back office IT operations, answering calls and helping customers. So really about 20 full-time employees. We hope to redeploy and use several of those, maybe 6 to 10 individuals doing different functions within the city. We're going to work to use as many as we can.
Sure.
And fill any open positions with people we already have, of course.
Right. Well, and again, it's too early to really think about it, but you wonder if the company will need to bring on some additional people too for the extra. For the extra coverage area they've got.
Right. I would imagine so. I mean, you're talking about bringing in 800 miles of coax, 500 miles of fiber over almost an entire county.
Oh, you mean they can't use what we have?
No, we're talking about the employees.
The employees.
Yeah.
Right. So we're hoping that Spectrum will definitely be offering some positions.
And now I don't know if you can really speak to this, but the mayor made a statement about kind of giving an overview of what led to the decision to pursue this.
Yeah.
Can you shed any more light on that?
Definitely.
Now, it's my understanding that the broadband made money or makes money, not so much cable TV, but. It seems counterintuitive to get rid of an asset that's making money. However, I also understand that, state of the art is just a single point. And even after every upgrade you do, you're slowly becoming out of date. And so constant upgrades are not inexpensive.
Right.
And so pursuing that can be a very costly journey.
Yeah. So yes, I definitely want to share, some of the decisions that we've been discussing behind the scenes that we came to this point. So, first off, there's the city's financials. So, as the chief financial officer, I'm preparing budgets and looking at 5-year forecasts for people that my department heads need to do certain projects. So the city's facing, on the general fund side, which is government operations, almost $40 million of proposed projects coming up. On the combined utility side, we're looking at another $40 million between water and sewer, as the most needs are there.
Right.
So, as chief financial officer, the council and the mayor are asking, how do we pay for this without burdening the entire community with $80 million in debt? It's something that needs to be done to move the city forward. So it's an important aspect that we had to discuss. So, there's really two options. You either bond that and saddle the city with debt, or you look at kind of relinquishing some of those assets that you have that may not be performing in the way that you need them to.
Right.
So.
Well, and that are also going to cost you money in the future too.
Correct. So that's where we looked at the utility operations and tried to determine which of the departments has value now and could give us really the most bang for our buck if we decided to exit a market.
Right.
So we settled on, for more reasons that we'll talk about, getting rid of the cable and internet department. So other things that go into that, really this is a kind of a four-pronged approach to determining this decision to sell. So not only the financial needs, but just the general market conditions of what we're dealing with. So, when we got into the cable business back in the 80s, there was no one else doing it. Nobody else was providing cable TV. That's changed. No one wants cable TV, for one thing. I mean, that keeps our subscriber base, just in the past 3 years, has dwindled almost 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
We lose roughly 500 subscribers to cable a year. We're sitting at about 5,000 cable subscribers. So, and now everybody's moving to broadband. Well, broadband market is much different than cable, whereas in the cable business, we're the only ones, unless you want to get a satellite. When you're thinking about broadband, you've got AT&T, that's local here in town. You got T-Mobile home internet, Verizon home internet, and now you even got satellites from Starlink. Those are all options available to consumers. So the market itself has changed drastically.
Well, it's become more competitive.
Right. And just the city is having difficulty competing against the larger companies that have an endless amount of money to market their product, send people door to door, advertise on all networks,
direct mail.
Right. So, and last week they discussed, kind of our operations and some of the subscriber counts, and I'll counter that point. Your guest Gigi said that there's 14,000 people in the city of Bardstown, and Bardstown Connects has 12,000 of those people. That's factually incorrect. So yes, there's 14,000 people in the city of Bardstown. Our service territory covers 20,382 people. So, and when she talks about that subscriber count, that is incorrect also. So we work with Bardstown Internet Service. They're a wholesale ISP customer of ours. So when you talk about 12,000 customers, that includes Bardstown Internet Service. So the actual number of broadband customers that have come to the city of Bardstown and said, hey, I want you to provide me internet service, is only 9,480 as of the end of January. So if you think about 9,480 customers out of 20,382 total passings, we have a penetration rate of 47%. So the market, just those factors and trying to compete and get our name out and keep up with the fiber builds that other people can do is just it's worn on us, quite frankly. We reached a peak subscriber count back in August of 2022 at 9,600 broadband subscribers, and we are now down to a billable 9,480 as of last month.
So so competition in the broadband market has been eating away at your subscriber count.
Definitely. The bigger companies can build fiber faster. We run really tight margins, we were in the negative territory. So that's another thing that we look at is the financial performance of the internet service. We have stayed so focused on keeping our rates low that we have now been caught with declining cable subscribers and now declining internet subscribers, that we have declining revenue. So, and it's in our audited financials that we just talked about last month. If you open those up, you'll see, and you compare them to last year, you'll see about a 2% drop of revenue for our cable and internet department. Meanwhile, expenses continue to climb because running fiber isn't a cheap endeavor. So the financial performance of that department kind of led to our decision, and even the technology, kind of what you had discussed before. And Councilman Dones phrases it the best: of a city is most adept at dealing with legacy utilities. Things that don't change very much.
Right.
So when you think about all of our other utilities, we have the electric department, water, sewer, garbage, and cable and internet. You know, electric distribution throughout the century hasn't changed. It's transformers, it's wires, it's, you know, basically very simple technology that really hasn't changed. Same thing with water and sewer. Not only does really no private entity wants to be in a sewer business, the distribution, the cleaning of water, the tanks, the pumps, all of that technology is pretty stable and doesn't change and doesn't require us to move to deal with competition. But now you're talking about cable and internet, which, again, in the 80s when it was cable, it's very simple. You just get a signal from the satellite and disperse it out and amplify it, and everything's great. Now, you know, in the 90s, we moved from cable into a cable broadband, or, you know, from a dial-up modem situation, and now we've moved into fiber. And the way the federal government has funded fiber builds throughout this country, the technology on the back end will forever be in flux. I can't imagine what the next head-end equipment's going to look like. So, you know, the city's just not as adept at dealing with that changing technology, and it's changing faster and faster. And I think it will continue to change. So prepping the city to take on that type of technological change is another factor into why we've decided to move forward.
Well, the mayor kind of alluded as he was going out the door last night that our discussion today would include the larger picture on what led to this decision. It makes it kind of seems the writing was on the wall if you know, moving forward. Now the occupational tax, I know, funds the general fund.
Correct.
Are there other revenue sources that go into the general fund?
No.
In addition to that,
we are now. So back when Bill Shekels was mayor, they increased the occupational license fee rate and removed the cap, and that has done wonders to the financial health of the city, especially from the general fund side. So I know as recently as 2019, right before I started, I believe they had still needed to use utility funds to help offset some of the missing revenue in the general fund. But since I've been there, we have not done any.
That was a very common practice back in the day because it was necessary.
Right.
But the expanded occupational tax really took care of that, and it should.
Yeah, and we're moving the utilities because whenever I started, some of the other utilities were helping to offset the loss in other utilities. So the city and this council has been very open to allowing us to, you know, operate these as close to a business as possible, but still keep the rates at a level that is reasonable to the general consumer. So we've moved most of our utilities into a surplus position on an annual basis.
Right. Well, it's just good practice. And I'm not a CPA, know very little about money, but it seems it's good practice that a utility is structured to kind of pay its own way with the rates you have.
Correct.
You know, manage it in that way. But one quick question before we take a break. I know that Bardstown Internet is a wholesaler for the city, and from my reading of the RFP, they are included in this. They will be included in the sale to.
So nothing's been finalized with that, and we have, you know,
that's
a few
one of the
things
details
to
work out.
Yes, right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pause now. We'll take a break. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks, and our very special guest, City Administrator Aaron Bowles, will be back with more in just a moment. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford back with you till the top of the hour. And then stay tuned to WBRT for the best in state and local news. All right, we're back with our very special studio guest, Bardstown City Administrator Aaron Bowles, who's also, well, I guess he's still serving as Chief Financial Officer, but he's the one who knows where all the dollars go. And very important guy. And we're very happy to have him in here. We've been talking about the pending, I guess, or potential future sale of the city cable TV and broadband internet system to Spectrum. And Aaron, as you'd said earlier, that's a process. It's going to take some time because the details of everything still haven't been worked out.
That's correct.
But this starts that process.
Right.
And then from that point on, then it will take time to kind of unwind and unentangle the infrastructure from what the company will be getting from what the city has.
Correct. And I don't know what all is going to go into that. I know that they have told me it's going to be very difficult.
Right.
So it will take some time to separate all of those pieces.
Right. And I think, it goes without saying that the city's computer infrastructure and the cable internet system have just kind of grown together, over the years.
Right.
And so that's going to take some time to unwind. But you've got I'm sure there's good people on both sides that will make that possible.
Yes, definitely.
And without disruptions in service to those of us who will remain customers. Well, Aaron, we've been talking about the financial reasons. You've shared some good information there on the big picture. Mm-hmm. Because I think for those of us who are on the outside looking in, it's like, why are they selling something that seems popular? Well, as you described, the number of customers versus the number of potential customers has been slowly dropping, and there's because there's so much more competition in the market.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that not only do you have to stay competitive price-wise, but then also with technology. And, anybody who can tell you that's not going to be inexpensive. And I think you made a good point about the Councilman David Doan said that, cities work best with legacy utilities, and I think that's, they don't change electric. Mm-hmm. I think the major change that the electric utilities had in recent years was raising the transmission voltage line on some of their infrastructure.
Right.
And that was a big deal, but it's not. But that could be planned and managed as it was. And it's like water and sewer, the lines are in the ground. Mm-hmm. You just have to maintain them. But they do require maintenance and upgrades. We can't. And there's expenses with that, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And just the competition that would come, as you're trying to redeploy or rebuild a broadband infrastructure, the competition that's there, mm-hmm. Beating on your back and able to move a little bit faster than you. You just don't have that with an electric department, mm-hmm. We have a defined territory. Mm-hmm. Same with water. There's nobody really cleaning water these days, except for us around here.
Right. I guess, of course, the questions I'd like to ask are, how it affects the local people and how's this going to work? About how people pay for mm-hmm. and get their service. Mm-hmm. How is that going to work? And I know there are people also who have paid a year in advance in order to get the deal of if you pay a year in advance, you get a month off.
That's correct.
And
so if we, as we roll into this, we'll have announcements and we'll, Spectrum will be able to tell us how. They don't expect, I don't think, much changes on the customer end. I think our equipment talks to their equipment just the same as what it talks to us. So hopefully the boxes that you have, the modems that you have will all be redeployed and reconfigured into Spectrum's system. As far as billing goes, we'll be communicating that along with Spectrum of how that's going to change and when exactly that cutoff is going to change, because you're paying kind of for cable, you pay a month in advance. So when your February bill comes, you're paying on into March. So that will all be communicated. Spectrum's a big company. They have the same online tools that we would have to pay online. The same paper. They've been in the business for a long time. They know how to get their bills out and make sure everybody understands what their charges are.
Well, Aaron, this doesn't. You mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to go back to it. Looking ahead, the needs for the infrastructure, or for the the general fund, and I think you said $40 million anticipated. Now, general fund includes like fire, police, protection, and I can't remember everything under general fund, but and I know that the city police department has been busting at the seams for a very long time.
Right.
And I think I remember hearing discussion about a change there and trying to find a better location.
Yes, we're trying to get them into a larger facility. Our main goal is really to get them within the city limits of Bardstown and actually in downtown. We think their presence in our community will help create a safer and just having them more visible would be a lot better for our community. So we're working. They are busting at the seams. They're literally have officers in closets out there and trying to do their work. Right. So we are working, trying to locate a space or either purchase a building or we've discussed building our own. The fire department has plenty of land where they're at. We're going to try to avoid that because we do want them to be as close to downtown as possible. But the big thing on the general fund side is going to be recreation. So we've been kicking a can for decades, and the recreation needs of this community are such that it's time for us to move forward. And we've talked about that, the new recreation center. So we have spoken about that publicly. It's kind of in its final design phase right now, and I think the mayor's prepping some announcements and some presentations as we move forward with that. But
excellent.
Yes, it's definitely needed. The community is demanding it, and we need to build it.
Well, I don't remember how many years it goes back to, discussions about it. We need it, but 2 or 3 times it's the discussions have just kind of.
I'm pretty sure it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. It's certainly something wanted and needed.
Yeah.
So that'd be fantastic. I was trying to think of what expenses that $40 million might include, and I thought, well, that might be in there too, because it's certainly the community wants it.
It's I can't really speak too much of it.
Right. Okay.
The design is going to blow your socks off. That's all I can say. It's a tremendous design, and it's going to be a fantastic addition for this community.
And it's going to be located
behind City Hall. In that open area, so we'll be able to build that structure and keep the pool open while we're building it. That the existing pool will go away. It needs at least $500,000 of repairs and upgrades to keep it compliant. So
it's hard to believe that pool's 40 years old. 40 plus?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
I remember when they had the pool down by the
rec center.
No, but I mean down by the Pioneer Village down there.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's where my kids took swimming lessons.
Right. Now I did go to the pool couple of summers there behind by the old rec center.
Yeah.
When that was still open.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was real handy. I lived on Center Street on Maple Hill, so that was a short walk.
Yeah.
Didn't have to walk all the way down the hill to the main pool.
Yeah.
But well, it's certainly. I think everybody's waiting for that, and look forward to the mayor's announcement and seeing the plans. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned two $40 million pools. So the one is.
So that's the general fund side. On the combined utilities side, we just announced last night we are building our Town Creek sewer treatment facility.
Okay.
Built in
infrastructure.
The 30, right?
That's like 20 million, right?
Yes. So it was built in the 30s, and I don't think it's not much has been done with it. And that end of town that feeds that sewer plant is booming, and it's no longer able to really sustain and support the growth that's out there. So we're going to spend $20 million expanding and upgrading that facility, really to take it to its maximum potential in that site. We're kind of landlocked in that little holler there, but we are going to increase that almost double its capacity.
Well, Aaron, I'm kind of pulling from memory banks, which as I get older aren't always so accurate. But I remember when the sewer plant was well, I'll call it the new one. Sewer plant was
Jerry Riley.
Was built, and the thinking, if I recall, was that it would replace the one on Gilkey Run, but that never happened. But of course, it had so much extra capacity.
It does.
It was built, but of course that was 20 plus years ago, and so they've needed the capacity of both plants. And I don't remember ever. It's been a long time. I don't remember a major project at the Gilkey Run plant. So I'm sure this is a much needed infrastructure improvement.
Right. And I think they just found that over the years, the amount of flow coming into the Town Creek plant was such that it really couldn't be all pumped over into the Jerry Riley plant. So
Right. And it seems to me the price tag on the Jerry Riley plant, it seems to me back then it was, I may be wrong a few million, but it was like 27 million or something like that, which seemed incredibly high at the time. But was really a bargain,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's talking old memories here. Well, what about Aaron? What about there are people who are change is difficult and it's scary. And what about customers who are, what if they have questions about, what's going to happen soon, and what do I need to, what do they need to do to be prepared for the eventual change?
As of now, really nothing. I mean, we are so early in this process that absolutely nothing's going to change. And as we move into that, we will communicate either through mass social media or some type of a text alert, or even on the bill itself, just steps in where we're going and what we think it's going to look like for the customer at the time. And yes, it is. It will be a big impact, and we understand and we recognize the fact that we have a great customer service crew here locally, and it is going to be a big change to not have someone, just over on 5th Street that you can go in and talk to. Spectrum's a big company. They've got 800,000 customers in Kentucky alone.
Wow.
Yes, and despite some of the online comments, all of their call centers are sourced in-house. So they are every call center is a Spectrum employee, and every call center is located in the United States. And they actually have a pretty large one in Louisville off of Preston Highway. So they have several facilities throughout the United States. So when you call Spectrum, you'll be speaking to someone within the United States, and probably even localized into somebody in Louisville. I would imagine they have it set up like that.
Good.
Well, now, if the average person says, why are we selling this? Would the answer, the simple answer seems to me would be, it's a luxury we can no longer afford.
Basically, yes. Just prepping, it's a business decision. So we're prepping the city for the future and what we see that we can work in. And
right.
we don't see cable and internet service as being a viable option for a municipality of our size. We're a little fish in a big pond,
Right.
And we're getting eaten up by the big fish. So it's just, we can see into the future that it's going to take a significant investment, and I mean, we would end up having to increase our rates also anyway. I mean, we've got declining revenue that we would have to make up somehow. So again, it's just a business decision that will best position the city for future development.
Right, and the big companies, I don't think I think Bardstown Connect did not have a Super Bowl ad this year.
No.
They've got very deep pockets for advertising and promotion, and the city as a municipality can't compete as far as promotion, other than in the newspaper or on the ground level or social media, and we all know you're there and we all appreciate it, but and then competition is cutthroat. When you were only one of two fish in the market, it's a little different, but I can see whereas the market, more players in the market, it's more competitive, and would be a lot of pressure to continue to make money if you had to adjust rates to try to remain competitive,
right.
And then the cost of trying to keep things upgraded.
Right. It's very difficult for a government entity to try to take on a private entity. The revenue is just not there.
Right. All right. Well, Aaron, we're getting down to the wire. I appreciate you taking time to come in. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we sign off the air?
I don't think so. And this isn't, again, this is a business decision for what administration and what council and the mayor think is best for the future of the city as an organization. This in no way is a ding on our employees within the cable department. We're super proud of the work that they do. They provide a fantastic service for this community, and they've done a very good job of building that into something that is of value and will definitely financially benefit the city for years and years to come.
All right. Well, now, and I guess it's too early to discuss what sort of numbers we're looking at as far as financial benefit to the city.
Right. We plan to release all that data as soon as we have a final contract in hand, and both parties have agreed to. I don't anticipate the price changing much from what they've proposed, but all that will be made public once we reach that final contract.
Right.
And you say that'll probably take months.
About 2 to 3 months, yes.
Yeah. And I guess you would expect them to do their due diligence to make sure what they see in the proposal is actually what they're seeing.
Correct.
That they're going to buy.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, now time goes by so fast nowadays. How long have you been with the city as CFO?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yes. So I was director of accounting and finance with Abound Credit Union before that, and then I spent many years with Wilson-Muir Bank as their accounting supervisor, and then before that I had an electronics engineering degree and worked in the rail industry.
Oh, is that right?
So I've been.
Well, my career, I started off as electronic technicians at United Electronics Institute many years ago, but then got into journalism. And been broke ever since. All right, well, that's going to do it for Bradford and Brooks. Aaron, thanks you again so much for coming in.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Been very informative.
Explained a lot.
All right, well, that's going to do it this week for Bradford and Brooks. We will have this up on YouTube in a day or so, as soon as I can get off my butt and get it done. So look for us there. We'll share links on Facebook, on the Bradford and Brooks Facebook page, Nelson County Gazette, and WBRT. So again, Aaron Bowles, thank you for coming in today. We've enjoyed having you on. And so that'll do it for this week's Bradford and Brooks. You have a great week, and the sunshine isn't out now, but it looks like it's peeking back out. So get outside and enjoy it. Have a great week, everybody.